The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Careers with Sara on Armed Radio Global this Wednesday tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Today's topic is going to be about how to challenge yourself to achieve your goals. Those who don't know me, who are listening to my show for the first time, I am a career coach, and I am here every Wednesday talking about careers, talking about tips and advice, and about advancement and interview tips and resumes, and basically whatever questions you have, I will be talking on the show. Housekeeping area for now. In order for me to answer your questions, you have to message me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sara. And if you would like to join my inner circle, that's Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle. That's also on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, then I can still be reached on my email, which is letstalkcareerswithsara@gmail.com. And I am live here on air, so if you have a question, you can call me 1-800-508-5431, 1-800-508-5431. If you are listening to the show, if you missed the show while I'm live, and you are listening to the recording of it, there's going to be available on my page, facebook.com// Let's Talk Careers with Sara, and you will be able to message me on Facebook your questions. So the topic for tonight, as I said, is how to challenge yourself to achieve your career goals and also enjoy life too. So, over a cup of coffee in New York, a friend from Norway was seeking my advice about how to navigate the future. His dream is to become a judge in Norway, which requires years of study and work as a lawyer. Feeling the pressure of wanting a prestigious career combined with still wanting the most out of life, he was unsure that he could pursue the judge track without sacrificing part of his youth, happiness, and ability to travel and make an impact in the world. The concern about making the most of life while still moving forward in your career is one I hear a lot. Maybe it's because we have learned about what we don't want from our parents' generation, or we have seen too many of our friends stuck in jobs they hate. But it's a common theme. We want to succeed in our careers, but we don't want that to mean our lives have to be boring and adventureless. And while things are a little bit different in Norway, the reality is that most young Norwegians will find a job because of the strong economy or be supported by a strong government safety net. The sentiment and my subsequent advice is the same. Whether you are in Norway, the US, or somewhere else in the world. So listen to my tips for reaching your career goals while still enjoying life along the way. The journey will be long, so have fun. In Norway, it takes more than 12 years to become a judge, and in the US, it can take decades. It's pretty clear that reaching your goals won't just happen overnight. You won't be a company executive, doctor, or lawyer without putting in the hard work that comes along with those professions. But being on a long-term career track doesn't mean you have to stop enjoying life or even work all day, every day. You will change and evolve, and opportunities will come your way. Opportunities that you shouldn't turn down just because you're working toward a career goal. When you approach them strategically, you can embrace experiences that actually help move you toward your overall goal, like travel, fellowships, and volunteering. On the low track, for example, working pro bono or conducting research abroad can help shape your specialization as a lawyer. Or if you're in the medical field, researching public health issues or volunteering at a clinic can broaden your world view and enhance your work in the long term. Give yourself a foundation to work from by outlining your long and short-term goals, but also keep in mind it's okay to do things that are different from that track. While we talked, my friend confided that given the choice of going to get it together with friends or studying, he would probably have to study. Would one party ruin his career? Certainly not, but he would have to eventually make up the work he missed. This kind of give and take is necessary when working toward any kind of goal. The important thing is to be realistic, find balance, and before you get too far along, define your true deal breakers. So, for example, if you love to travel or want a family, but your career is going to force you to give that up, are you really going to be happy? Or if the career you're working toward isn't making the impact you thought it would, are you really committed to continue on that path for several more years? The key is to be both realistic about the sacrifices you will have to make to stay on track and honest about where you want to draw the line. Having this defined before you run into them will give you peace of mind. You'll be able to enjoy the journey more when you know exactly what you're willing to do to achieve your goal, as well as when you will stop if things aren't going as planned. If you enjoy the path to your career and allow it to add richness to your life instead of taking away from it, it will be a lot easier to reach your goal and stay content with everything else in your life while you do it. There are going to be times on your career track when you want to give up or hit a plateau. All of a sudden, the hard work won't seem worth the pain, and all you'll be able to think is, why bother? There will always be people who say you can't. Both find success and do what you love, and those who will be more than happy to point that out, that you might fail completely. My advice: let those criticisms only make you stronger and more determined. Seek out a mentor or someone who has experienced your struggles before and find out what he or she did to cope, or take out your frustration by doing something that blows off steam, like going for a long run or taking a kickboxing class, or provides a creative outlet like a bio-bee painting class or a new recipe to try. Often, of course, you will just need to plow through the challenge, but this will be the point that actually brings you the most satisfaction. Pushing through a challenge instead of being stunted by it will help you be a stronger advocate for yourself and recognize there is a way to handle problems with grace. And each time you overcome a challenge, it becomes that much easier to do it again in the future. One of the most fulfilling things you can do while striving toward a goal is finding ways to give back while you are still on your journey. As you progress, there will be students or young professionals who approach you seeking mentorship, career advice, opportunities, or something else that requires your time and energy. With your demanding schedule, You might not want to use your time to invest in others, but think back to the time that you were a young student or just starting your journey, trying to figure out what to do next. There was probably someone who took the time out to toss you an opportunity or give you an hour of his or her time for a talk. So pay it forward. You will find that this actually helps you enjoy the process even more because you have a chance to reflect on your own knowledge and experience and recognize the powerful skills you have to offer. Plus, you will establish yourself as a mentor and expert in your field, which will only provide you with more opportunities as you move forward. I remember what it's like to wonder if you are in the right track. I think everyone feels that way at some point. So my advice to my friend and anyone stressing about the road ahead is that you can still take risks, embrace challenges, and enjoy life while reaching your goals. In fact, it just might give you more clarity. For my friend, this simple advice worked. I recently received an email that read, "I think back to our conversation and tried to recall all of the advice you gave me. On the subway after our meeting, I had the urge to get out into the world, to pick the path that was meant for me and make an impact." And that kind of positive outlook is exactly the right way to reach your goals.
You are tuning in to Let's Talk Careers with Sara. I'm aired every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. In this show, I talk about career advancement, resume revamps, interview expectations, how to stand out from the crowd, how to brand yourself, and skills you need to become a CEO. All of this is on Armed Radio online show, Let's Talk Careers with Sara, exclusively on TuneIn Satellite and the Armed Radio Network.
Whether you are looking for an entry-level position or interviewing for a senior role, a question about achieving your goals is bound to arise. The most common way this phrase is, how do you plan to achieve your career goals? This is often a follow-up to general questions about your career goals, such as, what are your career goals? Or where do you see yourself in 5 years? With these types of queries, interviewers are trying to get a sense of your ambitions and also your ability to form and implement a strategic plan. What separates a good answer from an exceptional one is a description of the active strategy and steps you are taking to achieve those goals, which also speaks to your motivation and call to action. So there are elements to emphasize about achieving your goals. While you don't need to be incredibly specific with this answer, demonstrate your understanding of the company and industry and clearly communicate the path you are on. Think about details, your accomplishments to date, to show that you have already been able to effectively achieve goals. Delineate the ways in which your goals align with the job at hand. Describe any tangible achievements on the horizon. Convince the interviewer that this position is key to your plan for success, and describe your personal qualities that will enable you to achieve your goals. Avoid answering in a way that puts the focus on salary, raises, bonuses, commissions, and job titles. While you want to avoid a vague response, it's best to stay away from goals that may or may not be something you can achieve at the company. You wouldn't, for instance, want to lay out your strategy for being promoted to a management level position while interviewing at a company that doesn't have that role available. So here are some personal characteristics to draw on to show how you plan to make your goals a reality. First, I will say accepting criticism. Describe how you learn from critique to improve rather than taking negative feedback to heart or letting it get you down. The next step would be following your passion. If you truly love what you're doing, it's easier to achieve those goals, as opposed to being driven by financial motive. The next one is learning continuously. Someone who is constantly learning and staying updated on industry changes is in a better position to capitalize on success. And setting deadlines, putting a date down on paper to achieve a goal helps keep you on track to meet it. Once you've met it, create your next goal and set another hard for that one. So these are the personal characteristics, and I'm going to emphasize it again. Accepting criticism, following your passion, learning continuously, and setting deadlines. So a handy approach to answering this question is to use a STAR approach, which this technique you will talk about a situation, which is S, or task, which is T, and A is for action, and the results achieved. So STAR, STAR approach, is S, situation, T is task, A is actions you take, and the R, results achieved. So this will help you shape your answers while composing one that's uniquely yours. The technique also helps keep your answer focused, so you don't stray off topic or speak for too long. So let's review some sample responses. So response number 1 can be, I plan on gaining additional skills by taking related classes and continuing my involvement with a variety of professional associations. Another one can be, I noticed that your company provides in-house training for employees, and I would certainly be interested in taking classes that would be relevant. I will continue my professional development by participating in conferences, attending seminars, and continuing my education. And over the next 5 years, I want to gain a deeper understanding of the stock market, build a list of clients, and start my own investment firm in the next decade. However, first I want to gain experience as an account manager with a large company like yours. I have a plan in place for getting my certification in the next 2 years. I have already completed the first exam and will be scheduling the second in 6 months. My completed certification will put me on the path to the larger goal of becoming a senior investment analyst to take on higher level market analysis. After graduating in the top 15% of my class, my summer internship in marketing gave me solid experience from which to look for my first position. I look forward to working as a marketing assistant to develop my skills in the industry and advance internally from my role in the next several years. So here, as you see, I gave you several examples on how to answer on achieving your goals. So this way you are not really confused, and you are not startled hearing the question like for the first time and don't know what to answer and showing yourself unprepared. This show is really to make you prepared. So if you want to listen to it and you probably missed some of my advice, this is a recording right now, and it will be posted on my page on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah, so you will be able to listen to it. And if you don't have Facebook, email me, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah at gmail.com, and then I will send you the link for you to hear it. I found a video that is from mindtools.com, and it talks about 5 rules of goal setting. So I really would like you to listen to it. It's really something that is very important, and I feel that everyone should listen to it. So here you go.
Would you set off on a cross-country trip without a map, a GPS, or even a clear destination in mind? If you did, you might have an interesting adventure, but there's also a good chance you'd wind up somewhere you didn't want to be. This is why it's so important to set goals. Goals act like a roadmap for your life. They help you take control and guide you along your journey so that your experiences are rich, satisfying, and enjoyable. To accomplish your goals, you need to know how to set them. And there are 5 golden rules that help you do this. Review your goals regularly. To learn more.
So, here is a continuation of it.
Goals act like a roadmap for your life. They help you take control and guide you along your journey so that your experiences are rich, satisfying, and enjoyable. To accomplish your goals, you need to know how to set them. And there are 5 golden rules that help you do this. One of these is to set goals that genuinely motivate you. Try to imagine working day in, day out towards a goal that doesn't excite you very much. It doesn't sound much fun, does it? If something isn't very important to you, chances are you'll give up before you achieve it. When you think about setting a goal, take time to analyze why it's so meaningful to you. If you're not truly excited about it, then it's probably not worth pursuing. The next rule is to set SMART goals. There are many variations of what SMART stands for, but in essence, goals should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART goals work best because you can evaluate your progress objectively. Another rule is to put your goals into writing. This physical act makes them tangible and real. They feel important. When you write your goals down, use the words I will instead of I might or I would like to. I will rings with power and intention. You've set yourself a mission and you intend to accomplish it. The 4th golden rule is to make an action plan. By writing out individual steps and crossing each one off as you complete it, you'll realize the progress you're making towards your ultimate goal. This is especially important if your goal is big and demanding or will take a long time to accomplish. The final rule is to stick with it. Remember, goal setting is an ongoing activity, not just a means to an end. Set reminders to keep yourself on track and make time to review your goals regularly. To learn more about the golden rules of goal setting, see the article that accompanies this video.
I will just summarize it in a way that the video had explained right now, and I will explain it in a way that you will understand it clearly. Now, let's think of it this way. The single most effective way I personally found to self-motivate is to set goals, okay? And really effective goals. But motivation is more than goals. Just how do I self-motivate, right? That's how you might probably think. It's a difficult question, and one that has been the subject of significant research. And before you leap up and try to run a marathon, it's important to understand how motivation works. Motivation is triggered by 3 things: need, value, and goal. Need is pretty basic, right? I need food, so I become motivated to get some, either by walking to the fridge or by going out to hunt and gather. In your case, perhaps by cold calling, if you are in a sales position. Other needs are shelter, sleep, water. You get the idea. If you are living in poverty, these needs can be pretty motivating. But if your rent is paid and there is food in the cupboard, it becomes a bit tougher to jump off the couch and motivate yourself. Value is a little tougher. Using the example of shelter, one person's need of shelter might be satisfied by a small cabin. Another person's need of shelter might only be satisfied by a mansion. Value could be considered the scale that one measures the need. That's pretty important when it comes to setting goals. Values are very personal. But one value, money, is pretty universal, and it can help quantify your goal. You can use money as a proxy to measure value in many cases, but not always. Let's say you decide to get fit. You may value being fit because it gives you energy, it prolongs your life, it makes you happy. Goals are the core to successful motivation. I personally spend the most time with my coaching clients, helping them set their goals. But for motivation to be successful, goals need to be specific. So they also need to be specific. For example, I want to be rich. It's not specific. I want to make $5 million is specific. I want to make $5 million in the next 5 years is very specific. Difficult but attainable. None of the greatest human goals have been easy. We seem to be hardwired to rise to a challenge. Studies have shown that people are more successful attaining difficult goals than easy ones. And accept it. This applies to goal setting for others. You really can't set a goal that isn't accepted by your staff, your partner, and your family. And then feedback and evaluation is critical to goal success. It must be provided when goal is achieved. Rewards help, whether it's a financial reward, a bonus, or a personal reward. I will make that vacation to New York once I lose 50 pounds. Some things can help improve the chance of a goal being achieved. Goals are more effective when used to elevate performance. Well done, Sally. You have achieved all the goals on your performance plan, so I will give you a raise. Deadlines improve goal achievement. Learning goals leads to higher achievements than performance goals. If you have to learn something new in order to achieve that goal, you have greater probability of success. And then accountability can help. This is easier in the workplace where your boss holds you accountable. How do you hold yourself accountable? Tell someone, your partner, a parent, a trusted friend. If your goal is to run a marathon, join a community of runners. Post on one of the many exercises apps. One of the most famous goals of the 20th century, landing a man on the moon, was difficult and specific. It educated us, and it included a deadline. In a speech at Rice University in 1962, President John F. Kennedy famously said, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they're easy, but because they are hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win." Humans landed on the moon 7 years later. That goal was accomplished, and so much more. Personal goals should align with your personal values and strength. I have had many young clients say, "I don't know what I want to do with my life." After exploring their values and their strength, and often become very focused and ready to tackle the most amazing goals. If you are struggling and you believe that this is not easy to achieve a goal, I can work with you one-on-one and help you with achieving your career goals. And if you are interested in understanding your strength a bit better, one of the things I like to do with clients is to have them complete the VIA Character Strength Survey offered through the University of Pennsylvania. It's free and fun. Follow the instructions by Googling Character Strength, Character Building Experts, VIA Character, and you should try this. And think about your personal values and strength, and develop a goal that reflects everything. Then develop the goal that I've mentioned now, and I'm confident you can motivate yourself to accomplish that goal. As a trained coach, I help raise your self-awareness. I identify and clarify and maintain focus on your goals while being true to your strengths and values. I also help identify your choices and move into action. I help establish your own solutions and strategies. And a coach like me will hold you accountable for what you say you're going to do. And a coach will encourage, support, and believe in you, even when you do not. A professional coach will be your greatest champion. A professional coach like me will challenge you and help you recognize where you may be holding yourself back. So, let's do it together by just messaging me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah, and join my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle, on Facebook.
You are tuning in to Let's Talk Careers with Sarah. I'm aired every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. In this show, I talk about career advancement, resume revamps, interview expectations, how to stand out from the crowd, how to brand yourself, and skills you need to become a CEO. All of this is on Armed Radio online show, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah, exclusively on TuneIn Satellite and the Armed Radio Network.
If you've ever pursued an ambitious goal, you've probably noticed that your resolve starts to wane after about your 4 to 6 weeks. Even savvy goal setters run into problems after a month of resolve, but the statistics are worse of those who set nebulous goals for their lives. In fact, a 2007 survey conducted by British psychologist Richard Wiseman found that 88% of resolutions end in failure, and that backsliding on resolutions usually begins just a few weeks after the start of the goal. So I think this is the perfect moment to listen to this show. It's just soon it's gonna be January, and this month is gonna be the last year of 2018. So I have more to say about goal setting. So let's just continue. You don't have to let your resolutions and goals fall by the wayside. Before you abandon them in the face of challenges and mistakes, consider redoubling your efforts for successful goal achievement. Most goals require a form of behavior change, and behavioral change first takes place in the brain. An ambitious goal is essentially a choice to change a pattern in the brain, and unsurprisingly, changing the brain is extremely difficult, often involving setbacks and disappointments along the way. When a person starts to backslide on goals just a few weeks into their endeavor, it's usually because they have encountered one of the following challenges: snowballing mistakes. Perfection is impossible in all areas of life, including goal attainment. The brain is comprised of millions of synapses that are developed by repeating the same patterns over and over again. When you attempt to change your behavior, you are battling against millions of tiny highways in your brain that are telling you to continue behaving the same way you always have. Essentially, you are trying to conduct new brain highways in place of the old ones. As your brain works to build these new highways, you are bound to occasionally fall into old patterns along the way. For example, if you want to lose 15 pounds by maintaining a healthy diet, you'll probably find yourself indulging in ice cream or cheese fries at some point on your weight loss journey. Especially if you are used to using foods to cope with stress. One misstep into your brain's old synaptic highways is no big deal. But if one mistake causes you to give up rather than press through the failure, you are more likely to allow your mistakes to snowball, binding you to your old habits and ruts, causing you to backslide on your goals. The other reason can be that you have too many goals. According to a study of Stanford University, the brain does its best work when it allows when it's allowed to focus on one goal at a time. The prefrontal cortex of the brain, which manages willpower, among other things, becomes easily overwhelmed and exhausted when it's required to focus on multiple tasks or pieces of information. When the prefrontal cortex becomes overwhelmed, you are less likely to effectively follow through on any of your goals, especially if they require a strong emotional or mental effort. For example, trying to give up desserts and drinking at the same time. Next thing can be reaching a frustrating plateau. There is nothing quite as exhilarating as making tangible or obvious progress toward a goal. But most progress in life doesn't follow a set upward trajectory. Instead, it tends to go up, plateau, go down. And if you keep working back up again, this type of unsteady progress can cause disillusionment if you are not careful. For instance, a person training for a marathon may feel frustrated if he or she successfully trains to run 10 miles, but then can't seem to effectively increase distance or improve time with subsequent training, regardless of the goal. This type of plateau can last days or even weeks, and because of the frustration it carries, many people give up rather than keep at it. Unfortunately, many people set highly unrealistic goals in an attempt to be someone they are not. It's the psyche's way of bridging the gap between the real and the ideal. But this approach almost always ends in failure. For example, it's unrealistic for a new college grad to resolve to make it into upper management by the end of the calendar year. This college grad is acknowledging who he or she hopes to be someday, but it is approaching in the wrong way. He or she would be better off setting smaller, more measurable career goals focused on expanding his or her current responsibilities within the company. Unfortunately, setting more realistic goals frequently requires an uncomfortable and honest self-assessment. So, there are also non-specific goals. Goals are always easier to reach if they are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. But many people get non-specific goals for themselves. Vague goals are easily abandoned, and when the going gets tough. Lack of accountability and support. Sadly, change is often challenging and uncomfortable for the friends and family members who surround goal-setting individuals. Individuals who take an honest look at themselves so they can effectively pursue their goals require friends and family by proxy to consider their own life trajectories. Unfortunately, many people have no interest in adaptation and change, so this can cause considerable friction in personal relationships. When faced with the discomfort, social circles often withdraw support for the person resolving to change, rather than surrounding that person with care. For instance, an overweight person may be surprised to find his or her family sabotaging his or her diet by introducing high-fat and high-sugar foods into their home. Thankfully, none of these challenges are too great to overcome. Since these challenges arise in the brain, you simply have to apply psychological tricks to the trait to overcome them. The brain is wildly clever and highly values its own comfort. Since change and its accompanying behaviors are hard on the brain, the mind usually resists change unless it becomes more painful to remain the same than change. And I want to emphasize on how you can really work on your behavior for taking what you believe it's worth taking. So here's, for example, if you haven't done SMART goals, like set specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals, so you can see your progress against an aspiration-based reality. So it's better for you to start creating them. And if you found that your SMART goal isn't as attainable as you would hope, then you have to change it up so it continues to work for you. So another thing that I want to emphasize is to understand what triggers a poor behavior. Since behavior and ultimately goal attainment emerges from brain, it's vital that you understand the cognitive processes that precede your behavior. For example, let's say that you continue to employ one behavior that derails your progress towards your goal, and you are not entirely sure why you keep doing it. If you eat a pint of ice cream every night because you're stressed and want some comfort, it's unlikely that you will lose the weight you want to lose. But if you spend some time understanding your stress and your behavior triggers, then you can replace those self-defeating thoughts with healthy ones. So this is a way for reframing, but it occurs before the problem behavior arises rather than after. The brain is wildly clever and highly values its own comfort, as I said before. So there are some tricks that you can do in order to change that behavior and to achieve the goals. So understand reframing and do it. Every person who sets off toward a challenging goal will eventually fall flat on his or her face. It's simply part of the brain making new connections, and it's impossible to avoid. But people tend to go completely off course when they are unable to see failures as part of the process. For instance, I had a client who remained sober for nearly 6 months, but one night she got drunk and called me when she was on the precipice of choosing to remain drunk for many more weeks or months. And instead of allowing her mistake to snowball, she reframed her choice by saying, "I was stressed today and made the choice to drink because it felt good and right at the time, but I don't currently feel good and right, so I'm not going to do this again." And she hasn't had a drink since that day because she chose to reframe her mistake as one-time diversion from her goal. And another way is to be a minimalist. And of course, all people wish they could become their ideal selves overnight, but that's simply not possible. If you're trying to start a new career, or lose 50 pounds, or give up smoking, or bake more with your family, you're probably not going to do any of it particularly well. Deciding which of your goals deserve the most attention can help you to set the course for future goal attainment. Start with that goal and forget about the rest until you've met the first goal. Spend some time thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I just don't have time to speak about it, but you can Google it. And it's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you're not sure which of your goals deserves the highest priority, the hierarchy suggests that you'll only be able to pursue higher level goals such as love, career fulfillment, and lower level goals such as safety and health are fulfilled. Measure it differently. Plateaus are extremely frustrating regardless of the type goals you are trying to pursue. While you may need to alter your behavior to overcome a plateau, such as by exercising or dieting differently, you should also reframe your frustration by measuring success differently. For instance, instead of relying solely on the weight of the scale, you may want to also measure inches lost or muscles gained in order to mitigate your irritation with the lack of progress. This is just another way of reframing. And again, set SMART goals, so there is no reason to abandon your goals altogether just because you haven't seen the progress that you wanted. If you haven't done so already, set specific, measurable, attainable, realistic time goals, so you can see the progress and aspiration based on reality. And then you need to find accountability and support. If your family and friends aren't providing you with the support and accountability, you need to stay on track. Find other types of support. If your goal is weight loss, online and in-person communities such as Weight Watchers exist in the support and challenges, or if your goal is to get a better career then find people in my group on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle, that they're going to support you there as well. Although it's not impossible to attain goals on your own, you can set yourself up for success if you find people to encourage you and support you on your journey. Your ability to stick to your goals when challenges arise all comes down to how badly you want to change and how boldly you pick yourself up when you falter. Falling flat on your face is part of the change process, but you must learn to reframe your failures and surround yourself with support if you want to move forward. Change is fascinating and frustrating endeavor, and no one has ever succeeded a change without overcoming substantial setbacks and challenges along the way. Anyone who sets a resolution to change is doing a battle against a lifetime of habits in both brain and behavior. Give yourself the freedom to make mistakes without seeing yourself as a failure, and set yourself up for success through support and psychological tricks. When you fall down, get back up. You will do better than 88% of the population if you just don't give up. I am running out of time, so that will be another topic we'll discuss in my show perhaps next Wednesday. And I would like to say thank you for those who are listening to me. Thank you so much for doing your homework, by listening to experts like me about jobs, about resumes, and about how to be happy in a work environment. So I really want to say thank you again. So I'm going to see you next Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Armed Radio. Let's Talk Careers with Sara.
You are tuning in on Armed Radio and Let's Talk Careers with Sara every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I talk about careers and job hunting. If you would like to ask a question or would like to hear about previous shows that you have missed, you can find me on Facebook at Let's Talk Careers with Sara. You can learn about jobs, tips, and advice on my page. If you have a career-related question, you can just message me on Facebook.